surface area of a triangular prism. All right, so when we're doing the surface area of any object, what we're doing is we're finding the area of each side and then adding them back together. So if sides are repeated, that does make it a little bit easier, like when we were doing a rectangular prism or a cube, really easy because all the surfaces are the same. We can just find one and multiply by 6. But in this case, we have a couple of different shapes here. So we have this rectangle in the front. So a rectangle, we find the area by doing base times height, because this is 10 by 13. So we'd have 130 meters squared for that red rectangle there. And then I'm going to switch my colors up so you can kind of see, follow along with what I'm doing. So then there's a bottom rectangle here, like this. So the area of that bottom rectangle is the same thing. It's 10 times 12, because now we have a base and a height of 12. And I know I'm saying base and height. We can say length times width, if that makes it sound a little easier for you, because it's not really a height in this case since it's laying down. So we have 120 meters squared. Now we have another rectangle that's on the back side here, like this. So we have an area back here, and this is length times width. So we have 5 times, and even though nothing's marked here, this 10 can go straight over there like that. And we end up with 10. So we have 50 meters squared. The only thing we haven't found yet, and I'm going to try to do this in like a really bright pink color here so you can see really, let's see, can I get a hot pink? Okay, so we have this triangle on the front. And then we have that same triangle on the back. I know it's the same triangle because we have a height of 5 and a base of 12. And this would have the same height on the back, and this would have the same length on the front here. So in order to find the area of a triangle, we have 1/2 base times height, or length times width, because it's actually half of a rectangle. That's why we take half. So 5 times 12 equals, so we have 1/2 times 60, and that gets us, so 1/2 times 60 is the same thing as saying 60 divided by half. So we get 30 meters squared. And now we have to take all of these very colorful things here and add them together, because that's the total surface area. Oh, you know what? I'm lying to you. We need to multiply this by 2. The 30 is only the front side. I actually want to multiply by 2, so I end up with 60 meters squared, not 30, for the total front and back. Like the front side of the ramp and the back side of the ramp, if we're thinking that it's a ramp. So I have 130 plus 120 plus 50 plus 60. I'm going to add straight down, and then I have 5 plus 5 more is 10 plus 6 is 16. Then I end up with 3. So I end up with 360 meters squared. If we scroll down, this is exactly the same thing they did here. Just they did it a little less colorful than I did. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this out, and we're going to go ahead and start this. Okay. So let's go ahead and do the slightly more difficult calculation first. So we'll do the triangle. So this ramp has a height of 5 and a length of 12. Well, this one on this side is going to have the same exact height and length. So we're going to go area equals 1/2 base times height, which is 1/2 60. This is actually the same numbers that we just dealt with, right? And that 1/2 times 60 is 30. Remember, there's 2 of them. So this dividing by 2 is actually a little redundant when we have 2 of the same thing. We don't really have to divide by half in this case. So it's just one of those things. It's part of the equation. So we divide by half, but then we end up multiplying by 2 because there's a left and a right side of this one, if we're thinking of it that way. So we have yards squared. So that's our first calculation. Now let's go to this rectangle all the way in the back here. So we have a height of 5. I don't have any other measurements, but this length here is 9. So the whole ramp has a width of 9 yards, which I know that's not 9 yards, but if the width is 9 yards in the back, then it's going to be the same width in the front. So if this is 9, the back is 9. So I can go area equals And I'm going to put the 9 here. It's length times width. So length times width equals 45, and this is going to be yards squared. So now let's look at the bottom rectangle here. So the bottom of the ramp itself. So now we have a length of 9 and a width of 12. So area equals 9 times 12. So we get, what do we get there? 108, I believe. I'm going to check really quick just to make sure I didn't multiply wrong. It's 12. Yep, 108. Yards squared. Okay, and now we have one last piece to deal with. The top of the ramp where we'd actually walk on or ride our bike or whatever it is we're using this ramp for. So the actual part here. So this is showing me that I have 13 on the side and then I have 9 on the front. So this is 9 times 13. And that's going to be 117, I believe, because I'm only doing 9 more than this one. So times 13, yep, 117. Okay, so I have all my pieces. All I have to do is add them together. So I have 108, 117, 45, and 60. So this gives me 15 when I add 7 and 8. Another 5 is 20. And then I have 3, 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 3 more is 13, and 3. So I have 330. And remember, they all had yards squared on it. So when I type it in here, I want to go 330. I want to click yards squared. Check. Perfect. We got it. All right, let's go and clear this out. Go next. So this is one of those ones that, I mean, I always get the question, when am I ever going to use this in my life? And this is one of those ones, finding surface area really is helpful. I know a lot of students who've tried to make skateboarding ramps or something like that. Well, you kind of need to know how much material you need. In order to know how much material you need, you have to know how to calculate area. So things like that. A lot of the time, you're not going to fully enclose it. So we probably wouldn't have the triangle pieces if we're doing, say, a skateboard ramp or something like that. But you might. Just depends on how much you want to enclose it there. But for this one, we're finding each surface. But this is definitely a useful piece to use in life for really building almost anything. You're going to need to know how much material am I going to need. If you're doing anything once you get older and you have your own place, things like that, if you're doing anything around the house or around the apartment or whatever it is you have, you're going to need to know certain things, or you might not buy enough and you have to go back to the store. What if they don't have any more? Or you might buy too much and you've overspent and you've wasted money. So it's just one of those things that is a very useful tool to be able to do these kinds of things. Okay, so let's go ahead and find our area of our triangles. So remember, it's 1/2 base times height, but we have 2 of the exact same triangle. So I'm going to ignore the 1/2 in my equation. I'm not going to divide by half because I have 2 halves of the same triangle. So I'm basically putting them back together into the full rectangle. So I'm just going to go area equals 15 times 20 because that's my height and my base. Whoops, I put 12 and I said 20 and I put 12. All right, so I'm going to get, and with this one, because I know there's a 0 on the end, I can ignore the 0 for a minute. 15 times 2 is 30. And now I'm going to put the 0 back. So I know this is 300 feet squared. All right, so there are my triangles. Now let's do the back side here. So we have, remember, whatever the front is, it's the same on the back. So we have a height of 15 and we have a width of 24. So area equals 15 times 24. And that is, let's see if they give you a calculator. They don't give you a calculator in this one. So I'm going to go ahead, write this off to the side. So I get 20, 10, 11, 12. I get 4 and 2. All right, so I get 360 feet squared. I almost said cubed. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the bottom here. Boom, 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 boom. So I have area equals 20 times 24 because I have 20 along the side, 20 along the front. So let's go 20. You know what? I can do 24 times 2 and I get 48, and then I can put the 0 back. So, because 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. So that's pretty easy to calculate out without having to actually write it out off to the side here. All right, so let's go with orange for our actual ramp part on the top. The actual part of the ramp here that you would walk or ride on. This is a very steep ramp, so you kind of launch off of it if you were on a bike. But we have a front side here of 24, and then it shows us along the side here that we have 25 for the length. All right, so let's see. This one's not quite as easy. I'm going to write this one out. So we have 20, and then 8, 9, 10, 10 again, and then 4, 5. So we end up with 600 on this one. So 600 feet squared. All right, I'm going to just add straight down here because I kind of lined them up nicely. Well, kind of nicely. I didn't do a very good job here. So I get 0, 6, and 8 is 14. And then I have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 6 more is 17. All right, so I have my amount. Let's type it in here. So we get 1740 feet squared. All right, one more of these. Let's go ahead and do our triangles first here. Oops, I forgot to change my color. Triangles first. Okay, so we have area equals, again, we're not going to do the 1/2 because we have 2 of the same triangle. So it's a little redundant to divide by 2 and then multiply by 2. So I'm going to do 24 times 18 equals, what do we get there? 24 times 18, and we get 32, 16, 17, 18, 19. We get 4, and we get 2. Then I'm going to add straight down here, and I get 432 meters squared. So let's go ahead and look at the back square here. So we have area equals, remember, whatever the front is, the width is going to be the same for the back. At least for this one, we're not doing anything like it's tapering or anything. It's just a straight ramp. So we get 29 times, the height here is 24. So we get 29 times 24, and we get 36. 8, 9, 10, 11. We get 18, and 5. So we get 6, 9, 6. We get 696 meters squared. All right, let's look at the bottom side. Okay, so area equals 29 times 18. So 29 times 18, that gives us 72. And that's 16 plus 7, that's 23. And then we have 9 and 2. 2, 10, 11, 12, and 5. 22 meters squared. And really quick, I'm going to use my calculator before I move to the next one. I'm just going to confirm that I have done this correctly. So that's perfectly fine. Or if you have someone helping you, confirming that you're doing it correctly. One of the most frustrating things I find is when I lose a point because I simply multiply it incorrectly. That is very frustrating. I will agree with that one. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. The actual ramp part here. The part, sorry, that's a really horrible. So the actual part that you'd, go off of if you were on a bike or if you were walking on. So we have 29 times, and then they told us here that the edge is 30. So we have 29 times 3, but I don't know that one right off the top of my head. So let's just go ahead and do 30. So I have 0 and 0. And then we get 27, 6, 7, 8. And I get 0, 7, 8. 870 meters squared. So let's go ahead and add these together. And 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I get 9 and 1 is 10. 3 and 2 are 5. So that together is 15. Plus 7 more is 22. And then 4 and 6 is 10. 5 more gives me 15. 2 more gives me 17. And then 8 more gives me 25. All right, let's go ahead and check this out. All right, we finished it. Yay.